Chapter. There are two more things I would like to show you here, and these are rib steaks. Very simply, you've got one with a bone and one without a bone. So I'm going to just come right between the ribs here. Same deal. Boom. This, my friends, is probably one of the greatest things ever. You got a nice, can you see that? Nice, thick, meaty ribeye steak. You know, now this is getting on the tapered end. You can start to see the fat kind of all in. It's nice marbling here. This cut of meat, if you're interested in what grade it is, this is choice. We will do an episode later on talking about the differences between choice and prime and select and Kobe and all those kinds of things between the grade of meat and then also the different types of cows, things like that. We're going to explore all that. That's the beauty of the show. But for now, this is a nice prime rib steak. Now what you do is if you're leaving the bone in, and again, always just kind of reinforcing it here about this membrane. If you've bought a steak or a roast and you notice when you open it that this membrane has not been trimmed off, you can obviously do it yourself. That's one of the things we're here to teach you. And you just ride that knife right along the bone and get rid of that. I advise to do that before cooking, because afterwards, if you're trying to, cut around that bone or gnaw on that bone, that membrane is kind of a pain. So to get that out of the way, first and foremost, you'll be just fine. So here's your steak. Now what I would do with the steak, as you can see when you cut a cross section like this, probably hold it this way, got a nice layer of fat on here. You got plenty of fat in this meat. The extraneous stuff isn't going to do a heck of a lot for you, especially if you're throwing this on the grill. So we're going to peel some of this little membrane off. Occasionally you'll see these, you'll get a little bone fragment right in here. So just check that before you cook it. You want to check on the front, of the meat, because in a big packing house kind of thing, they're going to, they come through with a big saw and they just kind of cut this, right? And it's not a pretty thing in the sense that, they don't take the time to do the detail. And that's something that your butcher should be doing. That's what we are here for. And that's what this show is sort of about. It's supposed to stress that idea, is the butcher is here, to make sure that when you take this home to cook it, it's a really nice, clean, beautiful piece of meat, wherever it comes from. If it comes from the local farm, to me, that's way better. That's much, much more awesome. But if it comes from a packing house and in a box, something like that, that's okay too, as long as your butcher knows what he's doing or she is doing and goes and cleans it up properly. So with that said, I'll get off my soapbox and I'll get back to this nice steak. You could come through, so we're going to just trim. It works really well with your big knife. Just trim some of this fat right off, Don't trim it all, because it's great and it helps in the cooking and everything. But, if you want to make it look pretty, come right through there, get some of that off. Boom. There you go. This, my friends, is very much ready for the grill. When you throw that big old thing on there, just keep an eye on it. I don't do too well with cooking times on the grill. I just kind of keep an eye on it, have a beer, check it out, enjoy the smells, get ready to eat it, flip it over when it looks right. If you have a recipe for a great prime rib steak, however you might do it, let us know. Send it in, email me the recipe, tweet me, Ted_the_butcher on Twitter. That's my handle. I'll put it up on the screen for you. And let me know how you would cook this or any of this stuff, any of these roasts. So that's the big bone and rib steak. And last but not least, I'm going to use this here. So I'm going to just take this bone out again. Keep that knife right along the bone there. Just notch that out. Boom. So there you go. Now this is the ribeye or club steak, as it's called. I'm just going to show you how they do that. So they would take a piece like this that has no bone in it in a store, and they would just slice it into pieces just like this. That's a little bit small, so we're getting near the end here. Boom. So there's a club steak. I would square. Now this is the end of it. So what I would do is just kind of square this off. Take your big knife, long strokes, right through it. Get a good grip on it. We'll take that off. This is a nice piece. I mean, you can use this as a steak, but it is sort of the end. It's a little lopsided, but totally, totally delicious. If you want, you can cut it up, make it into small pieces, something like that. But anyway, these are sort of your typical club steaks as you would see them in a grocery store, or any other butcher shop, or anywhere that you might be buying meat in a restaurant. Something like this. Got a nice piece of fat in here. You know, it's nice and well marbled. Very, very super tasty piece of meat. I want to make sure you can see that. Now, to be totally honest with you, here we go. I'll stack that up for you. Looking pretty. All right. To be totally honest with you, I probably wouldn't take any of this fat off here. If you can see that. There we go. Let me hold it right. There we go. So this doesn't, to me, this doesn't have a ton of fat on it. I love that stuff, so, you know, you can always cut it off later. But if you want to, just take your knife and kind of notch it right along the top. Now, we're not taking off big hunks or big, huge pieces, right? Just little small pieces, kind of thin, something like that, you know. So you got a little, then, you know, you got a little fat on the top. You can trim it just like that if you want. And again, look at the front here of this steak, and you're going to find some of that sinew, some of that silver that's left on there. Just kind of notch that off too, because that isn't, I mean, that's great stuff if it's not too tough, but a lot of times you'll find some you know, tougher pieces on there, and you don't really want to eat those. You know, they're just not good to eat. I mean, point blank, period, the end, there you go. A good butcher should be trimming this up and cleaning it, because like I said before, you know, yes, the meat business is often about weight, right? That's how we all make money. However, I think you're going to make just as much, if not more money, if you give people good, quality, well-trimmed, clean, easy to eat, and delicious pieces of meat. So there you go. That is a nice club steak there. Can you see it? I hope so. All right, there we go. Okay, so there you have it. You got your club steaks, your bone-in rib steak, your prime rib roast with the bones tied on, prime rib roast on the bone. That's everything. I'll see you again next time.